The Ludiverse is sponsored by the House of Algos. Go to gumroad.com/House of Algos for a wide number of recorded classes on BDSM topics, including mindfucking, negotiation, knife play, fire play, flogging, whips, developing your dom or sub side, finding play partners, and much more. And use discount code COMMUNICATE, COMMUNICATE, for 10% off of any purchase. That's House of Algos, HOUSEOFALGOS. Hello, and welcome to the first episode of the Ludiverse podcast. My name is Jay Booth.
And I'm Courtney Luckadoo.
And full disclaimer, neither of us are actually professionals in any of this, but we are both very passionate about what we do know and very willing to learn anything that we don't know. We are going to be discussing all aspects of sexuality, the kink world, fetish lifestyles, things we know, learning about things we don't know, and if we get any audience interaction, we'll be answering questions that you may have. So hopefully you'll enjoy what's going on, and we're not just making fools of ourselves. Personally, I have been in the different kinks most of my life. I got started rather early, but it was mostly learning from books and movies and magazines and secondhand stories. And you, Courtney?
I started in my kink pretty early on. Actually, started, like experiencing different sexuality, like different sexual things when I was 12, and I ended up like just looking up different things. Like I would look up, oh, well, what's this? And I'm curious about this one. And then like the boyfriend that I had at the time, I would end up trying one of those things with that person. And it just sort of evolved over time. I noticed my kink getting even more into like like more intensity as I got into my 20s. Like, granted, still only 24, but still got a lot to learn. But I think that in the past 4 years, I've learned a lot more than I ever thought even existed.
Oh yeah, there's way more out there than a lot of people realize. As the term goes, vanilla members of the society tend to think of kink as just leather and bondage and the more physical, like BDSM stuff. But there's so much that just a little research can bring to the front. And then even those have their own different offshoots, like furries. That's a kink, that's a fetish, but it's like a complete spectrum within itself. Even BDSM has like a wide range.
Yeah, that's understandable. Like, I've actually been learning a new thing that I never thought in a million years that I'd be into, but it's the whole daddy dom little play type of thing. Like, I don't really care for calling it age play because I mean it kind of is, but at the same time it kind of isn't. Like, it's mainly just about safety and rewriting. Maybe you had a past trauma in your childhood and you want to rewrite your childhood. Like, it's kind of like that, but in more of a safe environment, and also the fact that you can actually have sex and get off with certain things is it just sort of amazes me. Like, I never thought that I would be into, like, I don't know, like Cassie and stuff like that, but apparently that is a new found for me.
Yeah, I've heard many stories of things like that where you find out about a kink or a fetish and you're like, who would be into stuff like that? And then something happens, and you're like, well, shit, I'm into stuff like that. So, I mean, even myself, like I recently, within the last couple years, discovered I have a mild foot fetish, and that's something that never even occurred to me before that.
Nice. Yeah, I actually dated a guy with a foot fetish, and it's not it's not as weird as some people think. I mean, yeah, it's kind of awkward at times, especially if you're not personally into it. But it's nice to see the joy on that person's face and to actually be able to please that person in that way. That was what drew me to it. Like he was into like rubbing my TV. At one point, he kind of wanted me to play with this area with my foot, which I thought was kind of fun actually. I had never done that before. This was back when I don't know, I was probably 14. So I didn't know anything about fetishes or kinks or anything like that. But I was just like, hey, if you like it, then by all means, you can try it out.
Are you talking like full foot job or just kind of rubbing on it with your foot?
Well, I'm sure that he wanted a foot job, but I never, like, we never really got around to it, I guess. It was kind of a short relationship simply because I was just, I was kind of a horror back then, I guess. I wanted to experience different things with different people, and also he just wasn't exactly my type either. So,
Well, that will also be a big factor in a lot of what's going on with your fetishes, your kinks, your sexual choices, your lifestyle. If you're not really into your partner, it's going to kind of taint any interactions with that kink. Like, it could be the reason that you don't realize you have a kink is because you just don't feel it with whoever you're trying that particular kink with. It's the same with like sex positions. There's people that can only experience one sexual position and that's all they think they like because that's all they're able to do with the person they're currently with until they find somebody new and then all of a sudden it's like I didn't realize that doggy style or cowgirl or swings or whatever else could be this much fun.
yeah, I've definitely experienced that as well. The fact that when I was younger, it was just, the normal stuff like missionary and cowgirl and doggy style. And there's actually one position that I had tried later on that I liked more than doggy style. I mean, it's still one of my favorite, still definitely one of my favorite positions, but I
What's
think
that?
the laying down form of that is actually a whole new high for me. Like it definitely hits different walls.
Well, see, a lot of when it comes to positions, there's a lot of size factors that come into play. Like real skinny people are able to do different positions than people that have meat on their bones. And the bigger the person, the less they can actually do because just like the forms of their bodies don't quite mesh well. And like even the guy's size, better endowed men are able to use different positions than guys that aren't quite so gifted.
Yeah, that's very true. I dated a guy a very long time ago that had literally 2-inch dick hard, so we could really only do the cowgirl position for it to actually do anything for me. And then there's guys that are too big. And to me, that just like it feels good in the moment, but it's definitely not something that I would do all the time because bigger is not always better. It can definitely hurt instead of be pleasurable.
Well, physically, only the first 2 inches are actually necessary for sex to start feeling good for both parties. And anything beyond that is just bonus, or until you reach a certain point, then it's just unnecessary. because you see these guys in like porn that have, their dicks like 16 inches long and big around as your forearm. And there's no way that a woman could actually get pleasure from that without going through a lot of pain first.
Exactly. I really don't know how some of these porn stars do it, especially with the BBC. Like, especially the really tiny ones. I'm just like, how? Like, you must be very deep. Like, you must be really deep down there because me personally, like, I think that my cutoff would probably be like maybe 9 inches. That would be my cutoff, to be honest. Anything after that is just way too big, and they're hitting my cervix at that point.
Yeah, I actually read a report that some of these porn stars that are doing, they classify it, well, they used to classify it as size queens, and they were actually doing serious damage to their internal organs by putting that much inside their small forms, and it was like pushing their intestines up into their diaphragms and like completely just rearranging, like they were literally rearranging their guts, and they were like unable to have children, which a lot of them, that was fine with them, but they also ended up to where they couldn't even have intercourse anymore by like age 30. They were just done. Any more intercourse would have completely just caused irreparable damage to something, then they would have ended up dying.
Not me. This is exactly why being fisted is not exactly in my cards. Like, sure, it's fun every now and then, but to do it all the time, I feel like that would damage something. So that's why when people are like, "Oh yeah, I'm into fisting," I'm like, ah, like maybe during a session or two, but other than that, let's keep that to a minimum.
Well, fisting's a little more understandable because the vaginal area is mighty flexible. I mean, you're able to squeeze out a baby and go back to normal. So the elasticity, the ability to recover from all that is, it makes fisting viable without any real damage. But like you said, only in limited sessions because too much, you're going to end up wrecking something.
Exactly. Just, just, I like sex way, way too much to have to stop early in my life.
Okay, so talked a little bit about kinks that we've heard of and how we got into the whole thing. I would list what kind of kinks I'm into, but it's kind of a long list and it seems to be growing constantly. So, been said by other people before, but I like the way it sounds. So, I consider myself kind of a trisexual individual. I'll try anything sexual once and twice if I like it. And I discovered personally within the last couple years that I'm heteroflexible, which basically means that I'm sexually attracted to women, but physically attracted to males. And so that was an interesting awakening for me, and it answered a lot of questions that I had about when I was growing up. And how about you? Do you have a list of your kinks and all that?
I do actually. I'm actually looking at a list right now because you mentioned list of things, and I'm like, I actually have one saved because I get asked this a lot. So I'm a sub with men, and I'm a dom with women. I'm very submissive with men because I'm far from a feminist. I I like the olden day thinking, and men are just powerful to me, and women are just they're supposed to be weaker, and so therefore I like to dom women. I mean, that's just kind of me. I also like fire play. I like knife play and a little humiliation, not too much though. And candle wax, breath play. I enjoy trying new things and testing my limits. And rape play, paddles, whips, being tied up, nipple torture, pussy torture, ass torture, getting face fucked, and master slave. And if you can't tell, I enjoy whatever my dom enjoys pretty much. Like I will try new things at least once, like you said. Like I have found out my limits as well using that, but there are certain limits that I will never try, such as PC play. Never gonna try it. Never gonna be into it. And also necrophilia. Never gonna try it. Never gonna be into it. And also pedophilia. Not into that either. And also, I don't eat ass either. To me, that's very close to PC's play.
Okay, well, so seems like the wide range of kinks and fetishes is pretty well covered by the two of us, and we're both fully willing to learn about anything we don't know. But yeah, I'm with you on the whole like anything bathroom related. Just no. Pedophilia isn't exactly a kink or a fetish. It's I think they classified it as a mental disorder. So, but yeah, absolutely not with that. I have been known to eat some ass, but there's like cleanliness levels that have to be maintained before that's even an option. Yeah, there's that.
What about what about necrophilia?
I've never thought about it enough one way or another. I mean, I think the whole necrophilia thing came about because of the sexualization of vampires. I don't think anybody was watching like The Walking Dead or any of the George Romero movies and being like, "Ooh, I want to get a piece of that rotting flesh." Um, yeah, I think it was the Bram Stoker Dracula movie. I mean, Gary Oldman is, I'm not going to lie, he's a good looking man, and he played Dracula quite well. And then, like, Anne Rice novels came around, and that was like super sexualization of the vampires. And there's always been, like, a romanticism to the vampire myth, and they're undead, so I think that kind of plays a part into it. But I don't see people, like, digging up corpses for sex.
No, a lot of the time it's really just an opportune type of thing because I've actually met somebody who has tried it, and his was definitely opportune. He did not even think about it whatsoever, and then just one day, like he was in a phase where he was just trying everything sexual, like anything at least once, like he said. And one day, the opportunity came about, and this man actually fucked a dead person. I was shocked. I was like, really? Like, I had a lot of questions there too. I was like, so how did that feel? And stuff like that. And he was like, well, the fact that she had only been dead for like an hour, she was still kind of warm. It's like, okay. And
I have several questions.
I figured you might.
Like, how would that opportunity even arise? So, did he work at a hospital or what?
No, he was at a friend's house, and his friend's mom was a really big drug addict. And one day, they came downstairs, and she had overdosed right in front of them, and she was dead. And his friend didn't care about his mom at all, like hated her guts, and so he was like, "Oh well, I'm gonna go to the store. Want anything?" And my friend was like, "No, I'm good. I'll just sit here and wait, I guess." Like, I guess he was just sort of in awe at the fact that his friend was just like, whatever, fuck it. And then I guess he was waiting for so long that he just sort of looked at his mom's body and was like, well, gotta try something once at least. So he did it.
Okay then. I mean, I can't, you know, no kink shame, but not kink same.
Yeah, he said that he would definitely not do it again because pretty, it's pretty disturbing. He said that he did get off, but it's not his thing. Like, that's not his kink at all. He just wanted to try something once, and he did, and he found out he didn't like it. So,
Yeah, I think you could get the same results with like a sex doll. You know, get one of those hot hands hand warmer pads, stick it in the hole, and then just go on it and be like, yeah, whatever.
yeah, but that's not the same. Not the same as the real thing.
Oh yeah, I know,
So,
but I mean, a dead person's not the same as a live person either. So okay, moving on.
exactly.
Okay, so are there any kinks that you've heard about that you'd like to try but haven't had the opportunity?
Um, well, I would definitely like to look into more of the like role play, like because I really haven't actually had the right scenario for me. Like it just hasn't ever been right because I I knew the person like deeply that was my husband, and he would try, but it didn't do it for me. So I want to look into that more, and also I want to look into a little more intensity of the knife play as well. Like so far I've just been like scratched with knives, but at one point it kind of gets old, and so I kind of want to try maybe bleeding a little bit. That might be a bit of a turn on because to think about it, it's quite the turn on. But I've never had the opportunity.
Yeah, I've done the knife play thing. I have a collection of knives. I think I told you this once, but they're mostly decorative knives. They're not like any use for anything other than just display. But I've got a couple that have good sharp edges on them, and I've drawn blood a couple times, and there's a bit of a thrill to it. I can fully get behind that one.
Yeah, I've tried a lot of stuff, but I still have a wide spectrum to try. Like I said, I'm starting to get into the whole little phase. So I'm seeing how that goes. So far, I don't like diapers in that. Yeah, diapers a no go. But everything else seems to be fine. Everything else seems quite right.
Well, that's the fun thing about being with somebody that lets you experiment is you can decide how far is too far, how far is not far enough. And yeah, I'm with you on the diaper thing. I don't see the appeal to that. I have my kids, and I dealt with their diapers enough.
Exactly. I have a son, so to me, diapers are not attractive at all.
Plus, I work in a nursing home, so that's diapers on the other end, and no way.
Oh yeah, that would definitely, you know, definitely be a turn off.
But yeah, I've also the rape play, or also known as consensual non-consent. I've I've thought into that, and I think a lot of the problems, like I've heard other people talk about it, and one of the problems that actually might be one of the reasons you're not really getting the full effect with your husband is familiarity. You know him too well, so there's no risk. So
Exactly. I mean, that's exactly how I feel about it. And that's why I've been explaining to my husband that you could never do it. Like somebody else that I know and trust, but not know them enough to be so familiar with them.
yeah, like I was actually raped at one point. I was already a full-grown adult. I'm I'm 6'2", and I'm right around 300 pounds and built like a bear, but I was raped by a woman. So there's a lot of stigma that sticks in your head about rape, even if you even if you know that there's no risk involved, it can still like dredge up memories. So it's one of those touchy fetishes that can really turn on somebody.
Yeah, I can see that. Like with me, I was molested as a kid several times by stepdads and stepbrothers and also one of my half brothers. But that's another thing that I really enjoy about kink is that you can look back on that and be like, well, you can't bother me anymore because guess what? I like that feeling now. So, like, the fact that my half brother face fucked me when I was like 5, and now I like being face fucked. I took that power from him. He does not have that power over me. I am not afraid of it anymore. I I'm not afraid of being pinned down. I'm not afraid of being touched in certain places anymore. Because to me, I want to be able to fight my PTSD, not let it win.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can see that. There's been studies done about women who take power back through sexuality, and you get a lot of people. It's like women using their bodies is cheapening themselves and demoralizing, and it's insulting to women everywhere, and it's not. Some women get full empowerment through their sexuality. I mean, they get naked because it makes them feel powerful that they can affect so many people without actually doing anything. They get into dominance, domination, that kind of thing, because they get all that power that they felt they had lost. So yeah, I understand what you're talking about. Well, as much as a guy can understand what a woman's talking about.
Yeah, um, I've always found that fact interesting that some people don't see that as conquering it, they see it as feeding into it. And it really all depends on the person and their mental state. Like for me, I come from a strong gene of like strong minded people. So my family's always been able to deal with things on their own. And that's how I deal with mine. I don't take antidepressants. I don't take any medications for any of my mental illnesses because I feel like I can control them better than the medication can. Because I've tried different medications and they just don't work. So for me, the only medications that did work was the more natural kind, such as my sexuality, such as weed, marijuana. Those two things I have found are the best medications for me.
We managed to get more time out of this conversation than I originally thought we would, but I think we've reached the natural stopping point. What do you think maybe we should look into for the next episode?
For the next episode, I think that we should get more into your kink, like such as like you did mention furry. Are you into furry?
I am a furry, yes. Well, I'm lower level into the furry. I don't like. I'd be interested in getting a fursuit, but I'm not. It's like I don't have a need to go out and. Well, I guess it would lean more into the bestiality. That's beyond anything that I'm into because some people are like, "Oh, I'm a furry and I like actual sex with animals," and that's beyond me. But like the anthropomorphic characters that people draw, I find those sexy. I have gotten turned on watching people in fursuits have sex. Well, they call them suits and they call it yiffing. I don't fully understand the terminology, but I'm still getting into all that. But yeah, it's one of those more misunderstood mainstream kinks. So, I mean, if you want to talk about that, we can, yeah, definitely look into that one next episode.
Oh yeah, next episode we can definitely look into that, and I can give you my point of view on it because I'm one of those people that say that bestiality and furry are two very, very different things. There's nothing in the likeness whatsoever between those two, and I'll explain more of that in the next episode.
All right, so thank you for listening, and we will talk to you next time.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Ludiverse podcast. You can send comments and questions to us on Twitter at LudiverseP. If you like the show, please leave us a rating and review on your podcast app of choice.
Thank you for listening to Ludiverse. If you have any questions or comments, contact us on Twitter or Facebook. Just search for the Ludiverse. Remember to rate and review wherever you listen. If you want to help support the show, please consider donating to our Patreon.